Timeless 106.1 FM KFFB. This is Bob Connell. Thanks so much for joining us for another edition of our Open Mic program. We got Memorial Day weekend coming up this weekend. But, you know, it seems like we do have Congressman French Hill with us. You've been visiting with us every week since this pandemic started. And you still haven't gone back to D.C. yet full time. Tell us what's going on.
No, the Senate came back 3 weeks ago, but Speaker Pelosi does not want the House to convene. She keeps all the power that way, and she's even changed the House rules so that we can vote by proxy on the House floor for the first time in 2 centuries, so that I'm not sure how she's going to encourage members to assemble and work together and collaborate for the benefit of the American people.
Well, one thing I noticed that has come out is the Congressional Oversight Commission filed their first report on Monday. Explain what all's going on with this commission.
I was appointed to the Oversight Commission. It's subject to the CARES Act that we passed. It's to oversee the Treasury and the Federal Reserve's efforts to create the lending programs to help get our economy back up and running. We have my Democratic colleague in the House, Donna Shalala, from South Florida, member of Congress. She and I represent the House of Representatives. And then Senator Pat Toomey, Republican from Pennsylvania, is the Republican representing the Senate. And then there's a former Elizabeth Warren staffer who represents the Democrats in the Senate.
Now, when you look at this oversight, you're just making sure the money is spent where it should be, or what are you oversighting, I guess we should say?
Yes, we're checking with the Treasury and the Fed to make sure they're using the best strategy to get our economy back open and working and make sure that businesses have the capital to rehire people. We have 30 million Americans that have had to file for jobless claims, the most ever, most since even larger than the Great Depression. So I'm very eager to help America get back to work, get our families back to earning income. And what the Treasury and the Fed are doing are absolutely critical to that effort.
Another thing that came up last week, and you guys, I thought were going to D.C., so you basically voted on a $3 trillion bill. I'm not sure exactly where that stands now.
Well, over the last 2 months, we've passed $3 trillion in new spending to help kill the virus, get our economy back up and running. And Nancy Pelosi last week cooked up a 1,800-page bill for another $3 trillion, an additional $3 trillion, before we've even spent the money that we've already approved, before we've even gotten it to our hospitals, to our families, to our public housing agencies, to our schools. It's unbelievable to me. It's just a terrible overreach on her part. It passed the House, but it will not be taken up by the Senate. The Senate has no interest in her list of sort of left policy ideas. And so what's happening is the Senate and the House, in my view, will work to find bipartisan consensus once we've evaluated the money we've already approved. Let's see how it's working. And let's also see how the economy reopens in our states. We'll look for gaps and then act accordingly after we've done that analysis.
When you look at the plan that was proposed, what's some of the things that were glaring out at you on that $3 trillion?
Well, she proposed that we just spend another $1 trillion on giving it to states and local governments. We sent states and local governments $800 billion, and that money is just now getting out to our governors, to our universities, to our hospitals. And the states haven't even spent the money that we've sent them. So we thought that was poor planning on her part. Secondly, she proposes once again to federalize all elections and take over election powers from the states. She put that in this bill. She put a mandate for all businesses to offer free family and medical leave, no matter what your business size. So even if you have fewer than 50 employees, she put that mandate back in the bill. She extended paying unemployment insurance compensation all the way to March of 2021. And so we thought the bill had some ideas in it that were okay, but they were premature, and a lot of it was just a House Democratic wish list of, as I say, more left of center ideas. We didn't have Republican support for it. We had one Republican vote for it from New York because of the New York desire to spend more federal money. But we had 12 or 13 Democrats vote with the Republicans against it as being a poorly conceived measure.
When you look at the whole scope of things, when we're looking at federal monies coming in, helping the hospitals and even nursing home medical staff, one thing you notice that the governor is pulling all stops out to get all 40,000 residents and staff of nursing homes tested starting June 1st. And that's something that you kind of talked about a long time ago, that you've had family members in nursing home, and you're familiar with that whole environment.
Absolutely. I think this is very important. And again, I get a lot of mail that says we should have more testing and more tracing power. We passed $25 billion to do more testing and more tracing, and Governor Hutchinson is leading the way. He's going to have 60,000 tests done by the end of the month for our whole state, 2% of the population. Plus, in June, he set a goal, as you say, of adding 40,000 tests for nursing homes, for everyone in the state in a nursing home. So this is powerful, that we'll have that data, we'll understand where the virus is in our state, and he's trying to help our most vulnerable population by testing in our nursing homes.
When you take the temperature of other colleagues, I know you talk with colleagues throughout the nation that are in the House. What is their take on Arkansas moving forward? It seems like at first it was very negative. Now they use us as kind of like, hey, they got it done.
Yeah, I think people have been very complimentary of Governor Hutchinson's very modest and moderate course, prudent approach to closing things down that deserve to be closed down, big group settings, concerts, graduations, bars and restaurants. Unfortunately, our faith communities where we have groups of people. And now he's slowly reopening it. And I think Arkansans are practical, common sense people who know how to take care of themselves and families and follow the CDC guidance. And I think our economy will rebound a little better than a lot of places in the country. And I think that's very fortunate for our citizens.
Well, you know, all of these talks weekly we've been doing for, 6-8 weeks now. It seems like it's been even longer than that. Each week you've given us a little insight. It was really funny when someone asked if you were French. I thought that was one of my iconic questions asked over the few weeks. The other question is, they keep asking, okay, everybody thinks about food right now. When the restaurants open, I think a lot of people went, but then there were some that was holding back because, there was long waiting lists just to get in. What was your first meal out with your family?
My first meal out with my family was Tzatziki's. I love their lamb feast. In fact, I just had it take out from Tzatziki's for lunch today. Our restaurants are coming back slowly. My hat's off to the managers and all the workers. And I'm really thankful for the Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP program, that's helped over 40,000 businesses in Arkansas now. Over $3.3 billion, small businesses, particularly our restaurants, to try to keep people employed and hold their team together. And now that we're reopening, we'll see how well that worked. I hope it was helpful. And if we need to do something else, we can be in a position to do that. Governor Hutchinson's opening up very carefully over the course of May, and we'll have people out. And every restaurant wants to protect their customers and do a great job. So it'll get better as the weeks go ahead.
Congressman, thanks so much for taking time and talking with us. And what do we see next week?
My pleasure, Bob. I look forward to being with you next week. We'll be back in session next week, and we're going to vote on the intelligence report on the FISA court. And so that'll be coming up to vote on next week.